ended up making a name for themselves. What did the C's lack, though? Not something expensive or impossible to find. Not something encoded in DNA or hardwired into the circuits of their brains. They lacked something that we could have given them if we'd only known they needed it. A community around them that prepared them properly for the world. The C's were squandered talent, but they didn't need to be. Today, Chris Langan lives in rural Missouri on a horse farm. He moved their books. He doodles when he thinks. He mumbles when he talks. And when he makes his way down the halls of Skadden Arps, conversations drop to a hush. Flom grew up in the Depression in Brooklyn's Borough Park neighborhood. His parents were Jewish immigrants from Eastern Europe. His father, Isidore, was a union organizer in the garment industry who later went to work sewing shoulder pads for women's dresses. His mother worked at what was called piecework, doing applique at home. They were desperately poor. For a period of almost 30 years, if you were a Fortune 500 company about to be taken over or trying to take someone else over, or merely a big shot in some kind of fix, Joseph Flom has been your attorney and Skadden has been your law firm, and if they weren't, you probably wish they were. I hope by now that you are skeptical of this kind of story. Brilliant immigrant kid, overcomes poverty and the Depression, can't get a job at a stuffy downtown law firm, makes it on an interview and everything. Bickle would say, many years later, I was brought to the senior partner, who took it upon himself to tell me that for a boy of my antecedents, and you can imagine how Bickle must have paused before giving that euphemism for his immigrant background, I certainly had come far, but I ought to understand how limited the possibilities of a firm like his were to hire a boy of my antecedents. And while he congratulated me on my progress, I should unfoul of federal regulators. They did not do litigation. That is, they rarely had a division dedicated to defending and filing lawsuits. As Paul Cravath, one of the founders of Cravath, Swaine & Moore, one of the very whitest of the white shoe firms, once put it, the lawyer's job was to settle disputes in the conference room, not the courtroom. Among my classmates at Harvard, the thing that bright young guys did was securities law or tax, another white shoe partner remembers. Issue involving a proxy fight, and one of my senior corporate partners said, well, let's get Joe in. And he came to a conference room, and we all sat around and described the problem, and he told us what to do, and he left. And I said, we can do that too, you know. And the partner said, no, you can't. We're not going to do that. It was just that we didn't do it. Then came the 1970s. The old aversion to lawsuits fell by the wayside. It became easier to borrow money. Federal regulations were